Well, we're hearing from a slew of Fed speakers this morning. First out of the gate was St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard. Here's Jennifer Schonberger with those details. Hey, Jennifer.
Hey there, Rochelle. That's right. St. Louis Fed President Jim Bullard says that he thinks the Federal Reserve could raise rates 2 more times this year, though the timing of that remains uncertain. He would favor sooner rather than later. Speaking in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Bullard said since growth has surprised to the upside and inflation has been slower to come down than thought, quote, I think we're going to have to grind higher with the policy rate in order to put enough downward pressure on inflation. He went on to say, I'm thinking 2 more moves this year. Not exactly sure when those would be this year, but I've often advocated for sooner rather than later. Now, Bullard said he's not anticipating any changes to the Fed's quantitative tightening program anytime soon. When it comes to the debt ceiling, he says that is, quote, a must pass, saying default or partial default on the U.S. debt would mean you'd have to pay more to borrow in the future because there would be a risk premium than there otherwise should be. Rochelle?
And Jennifer, we know, of course, deliberations over raising the U.S. debt ceiling are escalating. And as we quickly approach that ex-date deadline of June 1st, at least according to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, it does seem that President Biden may have a solution to the country's debt crisis.
Yeah, Rochelle, President Biden saying over the weekend he believes he has the authority to use the 14th Amendment to unilaterally deal with the debt ceiling, though he acknowledged that there are legal implications there and surmounting those do remain in question as to whether that could be a viable solution. The comments come as President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy still appear far apart after a phone call Sunday afternoon. The two leaders expected to meet this afternoon at 5:30 p.m. at the White House. Negotiations ground to a halt this weekend with both sides blaming each other. Sunday, during a press conference in Japan at the G7, President Biden called the Republican proposal, quote, unacceptable, a departure from his upbeat posture last week. Take a listen.
Now it's time for the other side to move from their extreme positions because much of what they've already proposed is simply, quite frankly, unacceptable. It's time for Republicans to accept that there is no bipartisan deal to be made solely on their partisan terms. They have to move as well.
The president says he's willing to cut spending, but Republicans refuse to entertain raising taxes as a way to cut the budget. Biden saying, quote, revenue is not off the table, and that's what we continue to have a significant disagreement on, the revenue side. Republicans want to cap spending increases for over the next 10 years, while the White House is looking at 2 years. So, Rochelle, a very big gap here still remaining. We'll see how things shake out after this evening's meeting between the president and Speaker McCarthy. Back to you.
Yeah, indeed, a lot of moving pieces here. It seems like we make progress and then sort of get a bit of a pullback here. Jennifer Schonberger, thank you so much.